Okay, I need to talk about her story because this game has blown my mind. The whole game revolves around a police interview archive where you have to search keywords and piece together fragmented clips to figure out what happened to a man named Simon. And every clip is of the same woman, Hannah, Simon's wife. Across 7 interviews taken from June 18th to July 3rd, Hannah explains everything. Simon, her relationship with Simon, her alibi, and eventually what happens the night he dies. At first, all of this seems pretty straightforward. So naturally, the first term that I wanted to search was argument. If Hannah and Simon had any problems leading up to that fateful night, this would surely expose that.
It wasn't the present so much. It was one of those arguments that had been simmering for a while. The present was a mirror, a nice mirror. He'd engraved the glass, the kind of mirror a princess would have in a story. He made it specially for me.
This clip immediately stood out to me. Simon spends months handcrafting this insanely thoughtful gift, and somehow this gift snowballs into a huge argument. It doesn't really make sense. From a few other clips, we can piece together a basic story. The night Simon disappears is Hannah's birthday. He gives her the handcrafted mirror. They have a huge argument over it. Simon leaves. Hannah claims to have left as well. She drove to Glasgow where multiple people actually have claimed to have seen her. Simple enough, right? Hannah has an alibi. But there's one thing in this clip that really bothers me. That bruise on Hannah's face is huge. When the police ask her about it, she just claims she hit herself in the face with a cabinet door, which, sure, maybe that happened, but that thing is massive. So obviously, the next thing I search for is bruise.
The bruise. I have a really fast metabolism, so stuff like that just comes and goes.
Now it's gone. Completely gone. It disappears in 2 days. And when the police ask Hannah about where the bruise went, I don't know if you noticed, but she cups the wrong side of her face. And that detail just made me pause. It's really weird. At this point, something about Hannah is not adding up. And honestly, I'm not even focused on Simon's murder anymore because there's something seriously off about Hannah. I know I shouldn't be focused on Hannah so much, especially when we have Simon to be thinking of. So let's see what happens when we search the term body.
I went down there with a torch and went straight to the back, and that's when I saw the bin bags. Pulled them open, saw the body. I screamed, and that's when I called the police.
Hannah finds Simon's body in their cellar, in their home, stuffed in trash bags with his throat cut. I don't even need to begin to explain how suspicious this is. What's really getting me is how she seems genuinely disturbed. Like this has actually traumatized her. Nothing about this is making sense. Hannah's alibi is airtight, but Simon's body was literally found in their home. So if the present's not giving us answers, let's look towards their past and see what we can dig up. To uncover Hannah and Simon's history, we need to search the terms glaciers, wedding, baby, and pregnant. So I think Hannah and Simon have a really tragically normal story. Tragically common story is probably the better term. They meet as teenagers working at a mirror crafting shop called the Glaciers. They fall in love, they have a baby way too early, and their parents force them to marry. The thing about this, when Hannah is telling the police this whole thing, I think a lot of people would feel slightly sad by that. I mean, they're teenagers and they get pregnant so early, and all these adult decisions are being forced upon them. But Hannah, it seems like she's reflecting very fondly on it. After the wedding, Hannah moves out of her childhood home to move in with Simon and his family. Unfortunately, Hannah ends up suffering a miscarriage I believe in her 8th month of pregnancy, and this leaves her infertile. On top of that, Hannah's parents die a really suspicious death. And this prompts Hannah and Simon to move back into Hannah's childhood home. Throughout all of this, Hannah keeps circling back to the fact that her and Simon's relationship has always been complicated, that other people have always made the relationship complicated. Let's zero back in on the term pregnant, because something in these clips shifts the narrative. On the night Simon disappears, Hannah tells Simon that she's pregnant. Remember, her last pregnancy supposedly left her infertile. At this point, the police are openly suspecting Hannah despite her alibi, so let's see what happens when we search the term kill.
Yes. We'd fight. We fought on the beach once and I held Eve's head underwater. There was no one else around. It was at the far end of the beach and I held her head under and I kept it under. And for a moment, I just wanted to kill her and watch her drown.
Okay, this is really interesting to say the least. Why is Hannah... First, Hannah needs a lawyer. Why are you just yapping to the police like that? But also, why is Hannah just casually telling the police that she had, at one point in her life, wanted to kill someone, to kill her friend Eve? That is just so... Girl, what are you doing? What are we doing? Again, that alone is already insane. But under that same search term, kill, we get this clip.
Oh, my tattoo. I got it to express my individuality. It's an apple and a snake.
So, I'm pretty sure Hannah did not have a tattoo in her previous interviews. So if she got a tattoo when she's being under investigation for the murder of her husband, that is just mind-blowing. So, when we search tattoo, we get a clip where Hannah claims that she got that tattoo 8 years ago. Doesn't make sense. Again, this tattoo is large. We literally would have seen it when she wore short sleeves in that other interview. Seeing her tattoo, it made me think about the previous interview we have seen where Hannah talks about her friend Eve that she tried to drown. And if I may put my tinfoil hat on, a snake and an apple is a biblical reference. So if you're catching my drift, let's see what happens when we search Eve. Only 7 clips in the whole archive contain the name Eve, and this is one of them.
What are you doing talking about Eve?
At this point, I cannot let the name Eve go. Hannah reacts way too strongly every time she's mentioned, so let's dig through all the clips that contain Eve, and when we do this, we'll stumble across this clip.
My mother called me Eve.
Okay, what? I thought when we were starting this game, or slightly getting into the game, we were just going to be uncovering these weird inconsistencies with Hannah, but at this point, I'm not even sure we're talking to Hannah anymore. So let's see what happens when we search the term mother.
When Hannah was born, I was born at the same time. The midwife was there to help. I'd been throttled by the cord, probably wrapped around my neck by Hannah. The midwife told my mother I was dead.
I remember when I was playing this, when I came across that clip, my mind was literally like it blew my mind. So let's uncover more of this story. And to do that, we need to search the terms Florence, midwife, twins, and share. During the birth of Hannah and Eve, the mother's midwife, Florence, claims that Eve died during the birth. Florence takes Eve and raises her across the street in isolation. Eve would grow up catching glimpses of a girl that looked identical from her around the neighborhood. This is until one day, during Hannah's birthday party, Hannah finally spots Eve, and everything begins to collapse. Eve reads the truth of her birth from Florence's diary, and Florence dies a totally unsuspicious, unrelated death from falling down the stairs afterwards. Totally not related at all. Hannah takes Eve and hides her in her attic, where Hannah's parents, their parents, I guess, think Hannah just has an imaginary friend named Eve. From there, their identity becomes shared. They create these arbitrary sets of rules that ensures that they stay as identical as possible. They take turns going to school, they come home, they share a diary so the other one has all the information they need to know so they can act as normal as possible when they swap. If one gets a bruise, the other one has to get hit. When one loses a tooth, the other one gets their tooth pulled. They share friends, they share boyfriends, they share literally everything. When Eve loses her virginity, they forcibly take Hannah's with a hairbrush, which, when she explained that, literally, that's a lot. Again, they literally share everything. And this is until they meet Simon.
Hannah was so smitten with Simon. She started getting jealous, didn't want to share. She slept with him, broke the rules, deliberately broke the rules. She wanted to be the first to sleep with him. I mean, that's when she got pregnant. From that one time.
But in the middle of this twin rabbit hole we found ourselves in, we've forgotten someone really important. Simon. So, what actually happened the night he died? Who actually killed Simon? Why did they do it? And why are the twins working together like this? Let's search boyfriend and bar. After things begin to fall apart between the twins, Eve moves out. She gets her own apartment, she gets a job singing at dive bars to make her rent, and she even starts to wear a blonde wig to distinguish herself from Eve. This is where she meets Simon.
He saw me singing one of my shows. Pure chance. Not sure I remember what he was even doing there. Afterwards, I had a drink at the bar and he came over and we got talking. I knew who he was. Obviously I knew who he was. But he didn't know who I was. He was fascinated by the likeness. He guessed my name from my tattoo. Told me it was a palindrome, like that would impress me. I enjoyed talking to him. It was amazing to be able to sit and interact and talk to him after all this time. He didn't tell me he was married. I'm not sure what he was thinking.
Eve and Simon begin to have an affair. Eve becomes pregnant and doesn't tell Hannah who the father of the baby is. Now everything's set in motion. Hannah wants Eve back in her life. Her sister's having a baby, so she decides to tell Simon everything on the night of her birthday. Simon gives Hannah the mirror, and Hannah reveals her secret sister. And the look on Simon's face tells Hannah everything that she needs to know. Hannah and Simon argue. Simon eventually leaves, and Hannah stays in their home.
This was about 9. I went round and she was waiting for me. She was furious and so angry, the kind of anger you can only have towards yourself. We screamed at each other, argued, cried, we fought. I hit her back, left a bruise. I had my wig on from performing and she tore it off. Eventually we grew tired of fighting and I left.
So this is where things stop making sense, because Hannah had an alibi, right? So let's see what happens when we search for the terms blood and wig.
Like I said before, it was 3, something like that. I walked in, saw Simon, was on the floor of the living room. His throat had been cut. There was a lot of blood. Yeah, he was dead.
So this gives us Eve's version of events. But if we keep digging, we're gonna find something even stranger.
Her story is that she'd waited for him to come back. She put on my wig, some of my clothes, pretended to be me. They talked. She'd enjoyed being me. He said he wanted to be with me. Then he took out a present, another mirror, just like the one he'd given her earlier. That unique present. She went crazy, smashed the mirror. They argued, screamed. He hit her. So she grabbed a piece of the mirror and just swung it round. She cut his throat clean open. She'd only meant to scare him off.
So the twins are actively swapping places. I think we kind of pieced that together quite a while ago. But my question is, why is Eve doing all of this for her sister? Eve didn't hurt anyone. Sure, she really betrayed her sister. That's really fucked up. But why would she risk prison time over this?
It happened very quickly. We hardly had to talk to each other. We agreed almost silently. The baby was what mattered. We'd help each other. We cleaned up. We bagged up the broken mirror, her clothes. They're gone. We took him down to the cellar. We had an alibi, and we wanted the body to be found later. We wanted to have suspicion on us, so we could then disprove it, rather than have it linger.
This clip is what really made everything click together for me. This whole thing isn't about Simon, it's about the baby. The twins aren't acting out of jealousy alone. They're coordinating around something that they both refuse to lose. And this is when it begins to start to feel less like betrayal and more like an agreement between the twins. So let's try one last search.
My sister is gone. And she's never coming back.
After watching the majority of the clips, there's a little pop-up that appears on screen where a detective asks Sarah if she understands why her mom did what she did. And I can't explain how perfect this ending is. Because after everything we've pieced together, the twin, the lies, the swapping out the places, we truly don't know what happens, right? We know Eve gives birth to Sarah. We don't know if Hannah is actually gone still. We really don't even know if Eve's in prison. We don't even know if Simon gets justice, right? There's so many loose ends. Everything we've pieced together is just that. There's not a real ending. And I think that's the point. Her story is not really about a murder mystery. It's about trying and failing to hold a single version of a person together. Everyone who plays this game walks away with a different interpretation of the ending, and I think it's really beautiful that not one single answer is right. So, for the last time, this game blew my mind beginning to end, and I'll never forget the first time I played this game, the feeling of, holy shit, there's no way this is happening. I had to cut out a lot of the tiny details for the sake of time. These girls will basically tell this whole narrative, the whole plot, through dropping these tiny details throughout their interviews. But I'm hoping to do a deep dive on this game down the road. So with that, that's all I have for today. I will see you next time.